Welcome to this deep dive. We're taking a look at something that might just flip your understanding of modern marketing.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
The surprising return and maybe the real power of direct mail in 2025.
Exactly. We're exploring how this seemingly old school tactic isn't just surviving, it's actually thriving.
Right.
And our insights for this come from a really compelling discussion we picked up on Marketing Insights. It features Sarah Kim and Mike Rodriguez.
Now, if your first thought is anything like mine, was like, isn't direct mail a bit dated,
Right.
in our super digital world?
Like sending a fax.
Exactly, like faxing someone instead of just emailing.
Yeah.
But the information we've unpacked, it paints a really different picture. It's hinting at some truly impressive growth and effectiveness. So get ready for maybe some genuine aha moments as we dive into this.
And those moments, they really start with some eye-opening numbers. Stuff that challenges what we think we know about physical mail.
Okay, so let's get into this first big surprise then. Apparently, the average weekly mail volume, it shot up by 104% over the last decade.
104%.
Yeah, that's more than doubled. My gut reaction, honestly, much like Mike's in that Marketing Insights discussion, was just disbelief.
Right.
I mean, personally, I handle almost everything digitally now. Bills, communication.
And that's the key point, isn't it?
Yeah.
While we've maybe been streamlining our personal mail, going paperless, a really significant shift has happened in the marketing landscape. I mean, look at the annual revenue for direct mail.
Okay.
It saw a staggering 177% increase each year from 2020 to 2022.
Wait, 177% each year.
Each year.
Okay, that's not just a small bump. That's an explosive surge.
Absolutely.
So the big takeaway here isn't just that direct mail is still around, it's that it's seeing this like exponential growth, which suggests there's a real opportunity maybe to connect with audiences who are, well, feeling overwhelmed by all the digital stuff.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the Marketing Insights discussion really gets into the why behind this. A major factor is something they call ad blindness. In the digital world.
Oh.
We're just constantly bombarded with online ads, right?
All the time.
And our brains, they become incredibly efficient at just filtering them out.
Right.
Often without us even realizing we're doing it.
It's so true. You can be scrolling through your phone and the ads just become background noise, part of the scenery.
Exactly.
And the data Sarah shared in that discussion really highlights this problem. In 2022, an incredible 41% of all digital ad spending, that's $5.6 billion, was essentially wasted. Just
$1.6 billion. And if we connect this back to you, the listener, maybe you're considering marketing strategies.
Right.
That's a huge chunk of budget potentially, just not delivering. You might be investing in digital campaigns and wondering, why isn't the impact as strong as I'd hoped?
And that's where the experience of receiving physical mail really stands out, doesn't it? Think about it. A well-designed piece of mail, something you can actually hold. It immediately feels different
Totally different.
from just another notification pinging on your screen.
Yeah.
It demands a different kind of attention.
The comparison they used, like a handwritten letter in a world full of text.
Yeah, that's good.
It's spot on. It has this inherent novelty, a sort of personal feel that digital stuff often lacks.
Definitely.
And Mike's story, you mentioned him earlier, about keeping that restaurant mailer on his counter for a whole week.
Yeah, I remember that.
That really illustrates this tangible impact. It had staying power. It wasn't just scrolled past and forgotten.
Now, there's this common assumption, right, that direct mail is primarily for, let's say, older demographics.
Yeah, the only my grandma gets mail idea.
Right. I've definitely held that view myself.
Okay.
But the Marketing Insights discussion, it really threw me for a loop on this one.
Well, this brings up a really important question about those assumptions we make. Who is actually engaging with direct mail in 2025? Because the data, it reveals a genuinely surprising trend across different generations.
Okay, get this. Gen Z. The digital natives grew up with the internet.
Born with a smartphone in their hand, practically.
Right. They are actually more excited about receiving mail now than they were just a year ago.
Isn't that something? More excited.
That's a complete surprise to me.
And it gets even more interesting. Millennials, another group we think of as highly digital, they're the most likely age group to actually visit a brand's website after getting something in the mail.
Really? More likely than other groups.
Yeah. And they also apparently spend more time sorting through and reading their mail compared to the average consumer.
It almost feels backwards, doesn't it? These are the generations most immersed in the digital world, yet physical mail is really resonating with them.
Well, Sarah in the discussion suggested it's precisely because they've experienced this constant digital bombardment their whole lives.
Ah, okay. Like a novelty factor.
Exactly. Physical mail offers a refreshing change, a break from the screen.
Think of it like the comeback of vinyl records, maybe. Or vintage fashion.
That's a great analogy. In a super saturated digital environment, something tangible, something you can touch, it can feel unique, even premium.
Yeah.
That vintage is cool again idea really helps explain this unexpected appeal.
But it's not just about being different, is it? There's some fascinating neuroscience that actually supports why direct mail can be so effective. This part really grabbed my attention.
Yeah, this is where it gets really compelling. The scientific evidence behind the impacts. The Marketing Insights discussion referenced a study by Canada Post and a group called True Impact.
Okay.
And they directly compared how our brains process direct mail versus digital advertising.
And they looked at some key things, right? Like how much mental effort it takes, cognitive load.
Exactly. Cognitive load, also motivation, how persuasive it is, and attention, like how long people actually focus on it.
And what did they find?
Well, the findings are pretty striking. Direct mail required 21% less cognitive load.
Wow. Okay. Easier on the brain.
Basically, yeah. Our brains found it easier to process.
Yeah.
And it also generated 20% higher motivation.
20% higher. So more persuasive.
More persuasive, exactly. Which leads to this concept they call the motivation to cognitive ratio. Essentially, direct mail offers more persuasive power with less mental effort needed from the recipient.
So it's not just that people are noticing it more, it's that their brains are actually taking in the information more readily and finding it more convincing. That's a powerful advantage for marketers.
Absolutely. And the research goes even deeper. The discussion also mentioned another study, this one at Temple University, using fMRI brain scans.
Okay, looking right inside the brain.
Yep, to see the actual neurological responses to physical versus digital ads.
And what did those scans show? What lit up?
What the researchers discovered is that print media, so including direct mail, it more strongly activated the ventral striatum.
The ventral striatum. Okay, what's that?
Think of it as the brain's reward center. It's the part that lights up when we encounter something desirable, something we value.
Ah, okay, dopamine pathways and all that.
Exactly. So physical mail seems to trigger this unique neurological response, this feeling of value or desire that digital advertising often misses.
So it's not just a feeling that physical mail is more impactful. There's a literal, chemical reaction happening in our brains.
Seems that way. And Sarah also mentioned how engaging other senses.
Right, like touch.
Touch, definitely.
Yeah.
But even smell, like using scented paper or something, that can further amplify the effect, especially for, say, luxury brands trying to convey a premium feel.
Okay, but this raises an important point, though. While all this sounds incredibly promising, direct mail isn't perfect, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
There are absolutely key challenges that you need to consider. It's not a magic bullet.
Exactly. One of the first things that came up in the discussion was frequency management, getting the timing right.
Yes, you can't just flood people's mailboxes constantly like you might get away with sometimes with emails without risking a really negative reaction.
Yeah, you become junk mail fast.
The analogy they used, dating versus stalking, I thought was really insightful.
Yeah, that's good.
You want to stay top of mind, but you don't want to become overwhelming or, creepy. Finding that right rhythm, the right frequency for your mailings, it takes careful testing and probably some patience.
And then there's the whole matter of targeting and data quality.
Big one.
Compared to the very precise, almost scary precise targeting you can do online. Reaching the right audience with direct mail, it requires a different approach, a really good list.
Precisely. Maintaining a current and accurate mailing list is just absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Unlike digital campaigns where you can often refine your audience on the fly, mistakes in your mailing list, they directly translate to wasted cost. Bad data equals wasted money, period.
And we can't ignore the cost itself, right? Printing, postage, the materials.
Especially if you go for those higher quality finishes, texture, stuff like that.
Yeah, it can add up. It's definitely a different cost model compared to the often lower initial cost per impression you might see with digital ads.
So it's vital to approach direct mail as a properly budgeted advertising campaign, just like you would any other marketing channel.
Right.
You need to factor in all those expenses, design, printing, postage, list acquisition maybe, and rigorously assess the potential return on investment, the ROI.
So, okay, if someone's listening and thinking, all right, I'm intrigued, maybe I should try this. What are the key ingredients for an effective campaign? What are the best practices to make sure your mail actually gets noticed for the right reasons?
Well, the marketing insights discussion really emphasized that the core principles of good advertising still absolutely apply.
Fundamentals first.
Exactly.
Right.
A strong, consistent brand identity is paramount. Your colors, your fonts, your logo, the overall visual style needs to be instantly recognizable as you.
Makes sense. And personalization came up too, right? As being powerful, but also potentially tricky.
Yeah. Powerful, but with a strong caution.
Oh.
Using the recipient's name, maybe referencing a past purchase or interaction, that can be really effective. But as Sarah pointed out, getting too specific, like mentioning something they were just browsing on your website 5 minutes ago in a piece of physical mail, that can feel a bit creepy.
Yeah, crosses a line.
It might backfire. So there's a balance to strike.
And tracking performance is crucial, obviously. How do you actually measure the impact? How do you know if it's working?
This is where integrating direct mail with modern technology is absolutely key. You can't just send it out and hope.
Right.
The discussion highlighted using things like QR codes
Okay, yeah, easy link.
to drive people to specific online destinations, maybe a special landing page. Using trackable phone numbers so you know the calls came from that mailer.
Smart.
Unique promo codes are a classic, right? To attribute sales directly. And those personalized landing pages, or PURLs, to monitor website visits from specific mail pieces.
So it's all about creating those feedback loops, those mechanisms, so you can actually analyze your ROI just like you would with a digital campaign.
Exactly. You need to know what's working.
And to really illustrate what's possible, Sarah shared some pretty compelling real-world success stories in that discussion.
Yeah, these examples really bring the potential to life, don't they? The Netflix Stranger Things campaign was brilliant.
Oh, I remember hearing about that. The video store cards.
Yes, those nostalgic, like Hawkins video membership cards. They mailed them out, and the cards had codes that unlocked special online content.
That's so clever. Taps right into the show's vibe.
Totally. A great way to connect with that specific audience on an emotional level, blending physical and digital.
And for smaller businesses, maybe without Netflix-level budgets.
Well, the example of the local pizza place using refrigerator magnets
Ah,
with their menu and phone number. It's a great reminder that effective direct mail doesn't have to be super complex or expensive. Sometimes simple, useful items that stick around.
Literally stick around.
Exactly. With consistent branding, they can provide really long-lasting brand visibility right there in the kitchen.
That makes a lot of sense. And for those smaller businesses looking for, straightforward ways to track the results from something like that.
Yeah, using direct mail-specific promo codes is easy. Like, put mail 20 for 20% off on the flyer or magnet.
Simple enough.
Or setting up a dedicated phone number just for that campaign using a service like Google Voice. It gives you valuable insight without needing super sophisticated analytics tools.
Okay, let's just take a step back for a second and think about the bigger picture. Why now? Why is direct mail having this kind of resurgence right now in 2025? What are the broader trends making this happen?
Well, the pandemic definitely played a role, as mentioned in the discussion. All that increased screen time, the feeling of digital overload.
Zoom fatigue is real.
Totally. It seems to have created a genuine desire for more tangible offline experiences. People want to break from the screen, and at the same time, the cost and the sheer competitiveness of digital advertising spaces have just been steadily climbing. It's getting more expensive and harder to stand out online.
So direct mail is almost benefiting from that digital saturation. It offers a way to stand out in a, less crowded space.
That seems to be a big part of it, yeah. It cuts through the noise differently. And it looks like this isn't just a temporary blip either. Sarah noted seeing this trend across a whole range of industries.
Like who?
Oh, direct-to-consumer brands, fintech companies, financial technology.
Right.
Even more traditional B2B, business-to-business services.
Yeah.
They're all reevaluating direct mail and finding ways to incorporate it effectively into their marketing mix.
Okay, now 2 really important considerations came up in the discussion that we should definitely touch on. Privacy and the environmental impact.
Absolutely crucial. These are significant concerns for a lot of consumers and businesses today. Can't ignore them.
So how does direct mail navigate privacy?
Well, addressing privacy is vital for the long-term health of direct mail. While the regulations might sometimes be a bit less intricate than the complex web of digital privacy rules.
Maybe slightly simpler.
Potentially, in some ways. But it's still absolutely crucial to have proper consent for using personal data for mailing. And you must provide clear, easy ways for people to opt out of receiving mail from you. Plus, secure handling of that data is non-negotiable.
Makes sense. And what about the environmental angle, sending out all that paper?
Yeah, that's a legitimate concern. But it's encouraging to hear that the printing industry is making real progress in sustainability.
Oh, so?
Options like using recycled paper are much more common now. Eco-friendly inks, based on soy or vegetables, even carbon-neutral printing services are becoming more widely available.
Okay.
Plus, the very nature of targeted direct mail, if done well, inherently reduces waste compared to old-school scattergun mail-to-everyone campaigns. Better targeting means less wasted paper.
Right, sending fewer, better pieces. Okay. Looking ahead then, the discussion touched on integrating newer technologies with direct mail, which sounded really exciting.
Yeah, this is where it gets quite futuristic, potentially. The idea of combining the physical nature of mail with the interactivity of things like augmented reality, AR, or even virtual reality, VR.
Fascinating. Like, how would that work?
Well, picture this. You get a postcard for a house listing.
Okay.
You hold your smartphone over it, and boom, you instantly get access to a full virtual tour of the property right there on your phone.
Wow. Okay.
Or maybe a car dealership sends you a brochure. And using AR, you can project a life-size 3D model of the car right into your own driveway to see how it looks.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And the technology making this easier is called WebAR. It works directly within a phone's web browser, so you don't even need to download a separate app usually. It makes it much more accessible.
Okay, so the future could be quite interactive. The Marketing Insights discussion also highlighted specific industries where direct mail seems to be really hitting its stride right now.
Yeah, certain sectors seem particularly well suited to its unique strengths. Real estate, like we just mentioned.
Right, emotional connection, visuals.
Exactly. Showcasing properties with high-quality brochures, creating that emotional connection. Luxury brands, too. They can really leverage the tactile elements, fancy paper, special finishes, to reinforce that premium brand image.
What else?
Healthcare providers often use it to build trust, provide important, sometimes sensitive information in a format that feels maybe more secure or substantial than an email.
Yeah, I can see that.
And local businesses, like that pizza place example, can use it very effectively to strengthen their ties within the local community.
And are there industries where it's maybe harder or less effective on its own?
Well, it might be a tougher sell as the primary strategy for something purely digital, like, say, software as a service where you want instant sign-up and access.
Yeah.
But even those businesses can use direct mail strategically, maybe for top-of-funnel brand awareness or to deliver a really compelling special offer that just cuts through the digital noise in a way email might not.
Okay. So, to help listeners avoid common mistakes, what were some of the frequent pitfalls mentioned in failed direct mail campaigns?
Yeah, they flagged a few common reasons why campaigns might flop. A big one is just an unclear or even completely missing call to action.
Like, what do you want people to do?
Exactly. If they don't know, they won't do it. Another is poor targeting that old idea of let's just mail everyone with a mailbox. That's not a target audience.
Wow.
And finally, just not having any system in place at all to track the results. Flying blind.
Right. You spend the money but have no idea if it worked. Okay, so for a small business owner listening, maybe feeling intrigued but also a bit overwhelmed, what's some practical, actionable advice? How do you actually get started?
Sarah in the discussion had some good advice there. She suggested starting small. Don't try to mail everyone right away. Maybe focus on your most loyal customers first. Send something special just to them, maybe 100 or 200 people.
Test the waters.
Exactly. And set a clear, measurable objective for that small campaign. What do you want to achieve? More store visits, website traffic, actual sales.
Got it. Goal first.
And definitely include a way to track the results, even if it's just that simple promo code we talked about.
And budget. How much should someone maybe set aside?
It's hard to give an exact number, obviously, but maybe allocating a small percentage, say 5–10% of your overall marketing budget just to test direct mail could be a sensible starting point.
Okay.
And the focus should really be on the return on that investment, the ROI, not just obsessing over the cost per individual mail piece. A slightly more expensive piece that gets great results is better than a cheap one nobody notices.
Good point. And design. What if you're not a graphic designer?
Yeah, that can be intimidating. But there are user-friendly platforms out there now, like Canva or Adobe Express. They have templates and tools that can help non-designers create visually appealing mailers. Key things are a clean layout, consistent branding, use your logo and colors, and keep the information concise. Someone should be able to grasp the main point in like 3 seconds.
Good rule of thumb. And we should probably mention the legal side again quickly.
Yes, absolutely. Really important reminder. Just like with email marketing, there are rules for sending commercial mail. You need to clearly identify who is sending it.
Sender ID.
Right. And provide clear ways for people to opt out if they don't want to receive mail from you anymore. And of course, comply with relevant privacy laws. Always good idea to check your local regulations too.
Okay. So looking ahead then, what's the prediction? Where is this all heading?
The marketing insights discussion seemed to anticipate a continued shift towards what they called omni-channel authenticity.
Omnichannel authenticity. Okay, what's that mean?
It means brands creating really consistent and cohesive experiences for customers across all their touchpoints, digital and physical. Everything feels connected and genuine.
So direct mail isn't going to replace digital marketing,
No, not at all.
but it's definitely positioned to become an increasingly valuable part of a well-rounded marketing strategy.
Exactly. Especially for brands looking to forge those memorable, tangible connections and really break through all that digital clutter we talked about.
It makes sense. And that brings us back to the creative potential, doesn't it? Because it's physical, it opens up doors.
Incredible creative potential, yeah. Because it's a physical medium, you can do things that are just impossible digitally. Go far beyond a standard postcard or letter.
Sarah shared some fantastic examples in the discussion, right? Really out there stuff.
Yeah, like a furniture company that actually sent out miniature, dollhouse-sized pieces of their furniture.
No way! That's amazing.
Or a coffee roaster, including a small sample of actual coffee beans in their mailer. Imagine the smell when you open that.
Oh, yeah.
It's about engaging multiple senses, creating something people will genuinely remember, maybe even talk about or keep. It's almost a form of experiential marketing delivered right to their door.
That's a great way to put it. Timing also came up as being pretty significant, didn't it? Seasonality.
Yeah, timing can definitely impact success. Certain times of the year tend to be generally more receptive for direct mail, like January, maybe after the holidays, or September, back to school time.
Right.
But really the most important thing is understanding your specific audience's rhythms and patterns. When are they most likely to pay attention? You'll probably want to avoid sending B2B mail during peak summer vacation weeks, for instance.
Right. Bad timing. And maybe one of the most powerful aspects looking forward is how direct mail can work with your online marketing, the synergy.
Absolutely key. They shouldn't be treated as separate silos. Think about using your direct mail piece to explicitly drive people to a specific matching landing page online.
Okay, connect the two.
Or retargeting people who visited your website but didn't buy. Maybe send them a relevant physical mailer a week later as a follow-up.
Ooh, interesting. Like a cross-channel nudge.
Yeah. Or it could even be a great way to re-engage email subscribers who haven't opened anything in a while. Send them something physical to get their attention back. Sarah even called it your marketing special forces.
Aha, I like that.
Like a way to break through when your other channels, maybe your digital ads or emails, are underperforming or getting ignored. Send in the mail.
Okay, so if you're still sort of on the fence about direct mail after hearing all this, what's the final takeaway, the key message from our deep dive?
I think the main message is really to embrace experimentation. Don't be afraid to try it.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to get creative. Think beyond the standard formats. Try unusual shapes, different paper textures, maybe even scents or small samples if it fits your brand.
The goal really is to create something that makes someone stop even for a second and think, wow, this is actually really cool.
Exactly. That's how you cut through the noise. That's how you leave a lasting impression in a way a fleeting digital ad might not.
So, to sum it all up, our deep dive into that marketing insights discussion, it really reveals that direct mail is, maybe surprisingly, experiencing the significant resurgence in 2025.
Yeah, it's not dead. Far from it. And when it's used strategically, thoughtfully, creatively, it's a genuinely powerful tool. It can complement and sometimes even outperform digital marketing in specific ways.
It really highlights the importance of, I guess, not getting tunnel vision, right? Not just focusing only on the latest shiny digital trends and remembering the enduring power of tangible, well-crafted communication. Something real.
So as you listening consider your own marketing strategies, we really encourage you. Take a fresh look at direct mail. Don't dismiss it based on old assumptions. Explore its potential to create unique, memorable experiences for your audience.
And on that note, here's maybe a final thought for you to chew on. What unique and memorable experience could you create with something tangible, something physical, sent directly to your audience? It's definitely something worth considering as you navigate the ever-changing world of marketing.